I've decided to get a new air compressor for my basement wood and metalworking shop. I had a rigid handheld or hand-carried model, which was, I think, the stripped down Home Depot version of a nicer rigid model that had a detachable compressor head. I think that was for contractors who are going to work inside a house, for example. They wanted to leave the compressor head outside and then run a hose inside where they'd have the, I think, 3 tanks in parallel closer to where they're actually going to use the compressed air. And there was this Home Depot version which looked just about the same, but the head wasn't detachable. That was working very well, but then it started to leak somewhere, and that wasn't a big deal. But then shortly thereafter it started raining chunks of some sort of rubbery plastic, which didn't seem to be from the drive belt, which it had, and also what looked like shavings of aluminum on the floor. And I couldn't even get the housing off. It just refused to come off even with all the screws out. I finally relented and took it to the only rigid repair center in my area that was still accepting rigid tools. Apparently quite a few of them have had bad experiences with not being able to get parts or something. So I went to a local tool mega store, not a big box, but a dedicated professional tool mega store. And it was either a Roll Air or almost identical Makita product. I ended up with the Makita one. And it's fairly quiet. It's certainly quiet enough it doesn't bother me when it runs inside the house. But one thing I like to do with my compressors is set them up with an automatic drain valve. And I always end up using the same model. This is made by Van Air. It's their so-called Terminator product line, and this is the EDV 115, which is the version that's intended to run off of 115 volts AC. They also have a 230 volt version and a 12 volt DC version. There's not that much that has to be done to it. This is a strainer or a knurled cap which comes off and exposes the internal strainer. And there's a shut-off valve built in integrally here. And then to make it possible to mount it on the bottom of the compressor tank, where there just isn't clearance normally or the right angle, I fit in one of these short flexible compressor drain hoses, extended tank drain assembly. This one's from HROMEE, HR4013. I think it's the same model I used on my other compressor, or one virtually identical. This one has whatever size that is. Is that 1/4 inch? Maybe. Anyway, it's too small to go into here, so it has this fitting, but it might also just screw right into here. Yeah, this has a female fitting on there. It looks like this will go directly into that, and this here appears to be the same size as the tank threads down there. So I don't think I have to do much more than that. This hose does come with a roll of Teflon tape, which apparently you're supposed to put on top of the joints that are already there. They don't have any explanation, but I think they're supposed to work that way. I've bled most of the air out with the emergency air valve there, but I also have to get the rest of it out. there's already some moisture in there. And I've only had this for a couple of days. That's why you put the drain valve on them. After removing the factory drain valve, I've got this one screwed in there. Can't hear any leaking down here. That's good. Alright, next step. Put on the time-operated drain valve. The electronics module unplugs from the valve proper, from the solenoid portion here at least. And I think by removing that screw you can also unplug the power cord. But at least removing the electronics module allows for easier spinning this part onto this part, since this part won't turn anymore being attached to the compressor. Okay, that's on there. Now I want to close this one up and open this one. Okay, no leaking there. No leaking there. So far, so good. Okay, that's on there. I have it set to minimum open time, about 2 seconds or 3 seconds. It's not precise. It can be anywhere from approximately 1 second to 60 seconds open. And I'm thinking that 1 or 2 seconds is probably enough. And then the closed time is minimum about 10 minutes and can go up to about 60 seconds, so hourly draining. And it also has a test position here where if I force it against a spring to go down there, it should open up. Actually, maybe it's not doing it because I've got the this valve in the wrong position. Maybe it requires air pressure to operate the valve. So let's try that again. So let me try it again. It didn't happen right away, but I turned it all the way down to test. Just give it a moment. Yeah, there it goes. This is how it stows under my workbench. I like the other one better in the sense that I could read the gauges a little easier, not that I looked at them very often. So there's the drain valve down there, just tucked up against the wall, where the spiders will try to make nests on it, only to be rudely interrupted perhaps once an hour by a huge blast of air coming out of there. And I've got the compressor hooked up to my hose reel. So hopefully all will be well with this.